Nobody believed in him. His parents couldn't even afford to put him in a football club. He played on a concrete slab in a neighborhood where half the people live in poverty. And now, he's worth 100 million euros. This is the rise of Lamine Yamal. Rocafonda, a neighborhood in Mataró, half an hour up the coast from Barcelona. If you drive through it, you wouldn't think this place produces world-class anything. According to Spain's own statistics, nearly 50% of the residents here live at risk of poverty. It's an immigrant neighborhood, first from other parts of Spain, then from Morocco, from Equatorial Guinea. Almost 20% of the 12,000 people who live here are Moroccan. This is where Lamine Yamal grew up. Not in a villa, not near Camp Nou, in Rocafonda, on a concrete slab that doubled as a football pitch and a promenade. The steps beside it were the bleachers. Ball games are banned now on a main square, Placa de Joan XXII, but back then, that square was everything. His father, Monir Nasraoui, came from Morocco. His mother, Sheila Abana, came from Equatorial Guinea. Two immigrant paths that crossed in Catalonia. Lamine was born in Esplugues de Llobregat, on the outskirts of Barcelona, but the family moved between Granollers, Mataró, and Barcelona, always marked by the same thing: squeezing into rooms that friends would lend them. We always lived in the typical way. A friend would lend us a room, and that's where we stayed. That's not a line from a movie. That's Lamine Yamal, in his own words. Before Lamine ever touched a ball, there was a woman on a bus. His grandmother, on his father's side, came alone from Morocco. She sneaked onto a bus. No money, no papers, no warranty. She stopped in Algeciras. She stopped in Granada. Eventually, she made it to Mataró. And then she worked. Morning shifts, afternoon shifts, night shifts, all of it, to save enough to bring her son, Monir, who had stayed behind in Morocco with his sister. She didn't come to Spain for herself. She came so the next generation would have chance. Lamine's mother's side carried the same weight. Sheila came from Equatorial Guinea with her own mother. They settled in Barcelona. Sheila and Monir met. Lamine was born. They lived in a residence for young parents, a place that provided meals for everyone. Not a home they owned, a shelter that fed them. And then, his parents separated. His father moved in with his grandmother. Lamine stayed with his mother in Granollers. I'd go to school, come back, train, and at night, I'd see my mother, who had to leave for work at 6. A kid, already gifted, watching his mother walk out at 6 a.m. to work a shift she probably hated, so he could keep playing football. When Lamine was young, he didn't join any club. Not because he wasn't good enough, because his parents couldn't afford the registration fee. When I was young, I did not join any club because my parents could not afford to enroll me. So I played in the park with other kids, or with my father. He just played, on concrete, in the square, with whoever was there. No coach, no structure, no academy. Just a boy and a ball in a neighborhood that had nothing. Then one day, the manager of a tiny local club called CF La Torrida told his parents something that changed everything. He can join for free. That's how it started. Not with a Barcelona scout. Not with La Masia. With a local club waiving a fee because a family couldn't pay it. From La Torrida, the word spread. Barcelona scout Isidre Gil visited the courtyard of La Torrida and asked if there were any good players. The coordinator, Juan Gascon, pointed to a dark-skinned kid and said, "Look, there's a lad who is very good." The next day, they played a match. Yamal's team won 6-0. Isidre Gil watched and said 7 words. This kid has to play for Barca. The trial at La Masia. The most important day of his young life. And Lamine, 6 years old, forgot his boots. Gascon had told him 1,000 times not to forget anything. But he was 6. He forgot. They had to lend him shoes. Even in borrowed boots, even a year or 2 younger than everyone else on that pitch, he stood out. Not just a little. Incredibly, the decision was made right there. But it wasn't just Barcelona who wanted him. Espanyol was interested too. The parents sat down for a decisive meeting. La Torrida's board laid it out. You have an offer from Espanyol and an offer for Barca. What do you want to do? They asked the boy. And Lamine said he wanted to go to Barca, mainly because of how well they treated him. A 6-year-old, in borrowed boots, choosing a club not because of prestige, but because someone was kind to him. That's the whole story right there. From that moment, Yamal raced through every age category at Masia faster than anyone. He wasn't just progressing, he was leapfrogging. April 29th, 2023. 83:48 on the clock. He came on against Real Betis, the youngest player ever to appear for Barcelona in La Liga, still 15 years old. His uncle Abdul, back in Rocafonda, hung a banner in the bakery. April 29th, 23, 83:48. The exact minute, the exact timestamp of a neighborhood's belief becoming real. A week later, he debuted for Barca B, then the European Under-17 Championship for goals, then Spain's senior team, youngest ever, scoring on his debut against Georgia in a European Championship, a 7-1 win, and then Munich, July 9th, 2024, 2024 Euro Semifinal, Spain versus France. France had taken the lead. The pressure was crushing, and a 16-year-old, 16 years and 362 days old, received the ball on the edge of the box, curled it into the top corner, and became the youngest scorer in European Championship history. He was peeling away to celebrate before the ball even crossed the line. Because he knew, he always knew, after that goal, after that tournament, after Spain won the whole thing, Lamine Yamal wasn't a prospect anymore. He was a fact. Today, every time Lamine Yamal scores, he holds up his hands. 3 fingers. 0, 4, 304, Rocafonda's zip code. The graffiti on the walls back home reads, "In the neighborhood of Rocafonda, more Lamine Yamals and fewer evictions." The school kids on the concrete pitch mimic the gesture. The bakery his uncle runs, LY 304 Cafe, has his image on the wall. The whole neighborhood doesn't just cheer for him. They see themselves in him. When 60 Minutes asked him what was more stressful, playing for Barcelona or being a kid in Rocafonda, he didn't hesitate. Without a doubt, Rocafonda, because it was a neighborhood where no one knew what was going to happen in their lives. No one knew whether they'd become a footballer, an architect, a painter, or whether they'd find a job. You see your parents working, they can't be with you all the time, and you feel not nervous, but uncertain about what's going to happen to you. A grandmother sneaking onto a bus, a mother leaving at 6 a.m., a local club waiving a fee, a scout saying 7 words, a 6-year-old in borrowed boots choosing kindness over prestige, a neighborhood that the statistics said had no future, producing a kid who carries it on his hands every time the world watches. That's not a football story. That's a human story. And the 304 isn't just a zip code. It's a promise. If this story hit you, drop a like and subscribe. I tell football stories that matter, not just highlights. Comment the player you want next. And remember, 304.